Video games today are seen as much of an art form as they are entertainment, and it's become more and more of a competent medium in telling incredible stories while having the capability to keep players entertained through whatever the journey holds. It takes me back to days as a kid in school reading various books that were in the second person, giving me control over various points in the journey and ultimately the outcome. When Trek to Yomi was announced in 2021, it immediately grabbed my attention as a unique game blending two major mediums together, film and video games. Specifically, classic black and white samurai films and video games. Trek to Yomi introduces you to Hiroki, a young samurai who is thrust into the middle of a struggle among raiders, taking villages, and more specifically yours, and also then proceeds to take you on a quest to avenge all those deaths and try and save your mentor. The sharpest part of Trek to Yomi may very well be in its unique presentation, but also in its fun and engaging swordplay in each battle. So today, we're going to be reviewing Trek to Yomi, which was played through on Xbox Game Pass. For the presentation of this game, Trek to Yomi will immediately catch your eye when you see it. The moment you either pull up a trailer or even launch the game on your console, you immediately know that you're not playing a typical action game. The developers, Flying Wild Hog, a studio whose name I absolutely love, clearly appear to have wanted to honor films made by great filmmakers of the past, most notably Akira Kurosawa, who film junkies may immediately recognize. While I honestly cannot say I'm super familiar with much of his work, I did immediately recall seeing films of his in both high school and college, and a couple of film courses that I took. The evidence is there with the work greatly inspired to what Trek to Yomi's monotone atmosphere is filled, which includes some incredible shadow detail and a lot of great scenery. Now, traveling through various wilderness and towns, you will see that great detail throughout the environment. I constantly admired how it looked and felt, even though the game mostly limits you to where you go. It's not an open world game or even a platforming game. This is more or less a side-scrolling action game with a couple of small paths that you can occasionally take off the beaten path. Those exceptions will typically lead to other enemy encounters, as well as upgrades and hidden collectibles. Despite that limited path that you're on, it still feels like a very lush open world, and I wouldn't be upset with a game that was more open world in this type of environment. Ghost of Tsushima, I do see you out there. Pretty much reminds me that I should play my PlayStation a bit more often. Now, as for gameplay in Trek to Yomi, it's just a fantastic swordplay that you gain from various combos, including both offensive and defensive varieties. While most fights consist of 1v1 battles, you occasionally may find yourself in bouts against 2, 3, or maybe even 4 enemies at one time. You have moves that would allow you to flip back and forth in different directions, and you can use both light, heavy, and even ranged attacks. It's a simple system that works very well, and some fights, especially on higher difficulties, can be extremely challenging, but they never feel impossible. I love the varieties that each fight brings. It doesn't really feel like the same kind of monotonous sword fight each time. I find myself being a bit more defensive since my first playthrough was right from the get-go on the game's Ronin mode, which is essentially the game's hard mode. You can unlock an even more difficult mode known as Kensei mode, which is a one-hit kill, one-hit death mode above it. Each fight feels satisfying and is honestly where I had the most joy in this game over the story itself. I felt as if each enemy I defeated in combat, it really made me feel like a samurai, as cliche as that sounds. The game's length I also felt was appropriate too, being able to complete in my first playthrough after roughly 5 to 7 hours. Now, my only criticism with Trek to Yomi comes in the form of the story, and while it is okay and certainly progresses through to the end, once I became comfortable with the gameplay, I felt myself caring more about how I could cut down my enemies than anything else going on. The story does a well enough job of its revenge tale, but it's nothing we haven't necessarily seen told before. Hiroki has a close relationship with his mentor's daughter, and many find her to be one of the more interesting characters of the tale. I will say there is certainly some Princess Leia qualities to how she appears to lead those around her, similar to that of General Leia in the sequel Star Wars trilogy, but that is a rabbit hole we'll save for another time. The game's length, I feel, is a major plus for that story, as once it's complete, you don't really feel you could have gained anything more if there was filler about in any of the game's 7 chapters. The game is an appropriate length through and through. I wouldn't mind a spin-off of this game's universe or more samurai slashing and other titles. Now, overall, Trek to Yomi is a gem, and it's a game that, as a collector of great games, I wish it wasn't just a digital-only title. I'd love to see it gain a physical release through someone like Limited Run or Super Rare Games. Would love to just see a cool special edition and a physical copy of this game. It's one that I believe deserves it due to its presentation and emulation of classic samurai films, and there's a lot that one of those different developers could do to celebrate that genre and kind of the classic history of black and white samurai films. If you enjoy action games, samurai, or really unique looking games in general, you owe it to yourself to give Trek to Yomi a try. Today on our scale, we gave Trek to Yomi a solid 8 out of 10 on our scale today. And that's all for today's review. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel here at Starling Gaming. We try to upload new videos every single week. Let us know in the comments what some of your favorite samurai style games have been. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where we post all sorts of memes and gaming stuff for you to catch. We appreciate you as always, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.